On Donkey Kong. After over 11 years, Donkey Kong is finally back in an original game, but it's not the traditional 2D platforms that we're used to. It's a massive new 3D Donkey Kong game called Donkey Kong Bonanza. I can't even believe I'm saying that. I honestly thought that if we were to ever get a new Donkey Kong game, it'd just be another 2D platformer. You know, like maybe a sequel to Tropical Freeze or something. Mainly because 3D Mario games have always been the ones getting all the attention in Nintendo's history, but no, they brought out Donkey Kong in full force because it's clear that Nintendo wants to make this Donkey Kong IP a big deal again. Seriously, even though we haven't seen a Donkey Kong game in forever, it's become pretty obvious that Nintendo wants DK right up next to their big names like Mario and Zelda. And how do I know this? Well, aside from this big brand new standalone game, they shoved him front and center in the Mario movie, which is where his new design clearly comes from. But he wasn't just in the movie. He was a pretty big deal in it. And there's even been rumors flying around that he might get his own standalone movie. Plus, Nintendo dropped over $500 million on an entire theme park for the guy. So clearly, they're not messing around. They're rebranding DK, they're reinventing him, and they want you to care, really care. And Donkey Kong Bonanza feels like the first big step into the new DK era. But as excited as I am, I can't help but notice a few problems with this game, or the idea around it. There are things about it that make me stop and wonder, what does this mean for the series moving forward? First of all, let me just say, this game looks absolutely fantastic. Like, visually, it's doing everything right. And I was shocked by the reveal. Look at me, I'm manic. Just the fact that it exists makes me vibrate. The trailer kicks off by showing off some of the beautiful new worlds and areas the game has to offer. And right away you can tell that this thing is fully flexing the Nintendo Switch 2's power. I mean, just look at the foliage, the lighting, the shading. This isn't just an asset flip from Mario Odyssey. And then we got these like little crystal characters roaming around, and I have no idea what their point is, but it seems that Donkey Kong's getting a little handsy with them. And when we finally see Donkey Kong, we get to gaze upon his new furry redesign, and honestly, he looks good. Like, surprisingly good. I'll admit, it took me a second to warm up to it, and maybe it was the shock of seeing so much fur detail in 4K, but now that I've sat with it a bit, the design is kind of growing on me. From the gameplay alone, it's clear this was made by the same team behind Mario Odyssey. You can just tell by how Donkey Kong moves. There's like a bounce to it. See, he's bouncing and moving around. Even the dust that gets kicked up when he lands is straight out of Odyssey. And honestly, that's completely fine with me. If you're gonna borrow from something, I'm glad it's that. Now, speaking of gameplay, I guess the general premise is that Donkey Kong is now a miner. No, not that miner. Not the one that's under 18, you silly goose. An actual stone-punching Steve-like. And it's definitely interesting. It's not where I expected the DK lore to go, but hey, I'm here for the ride. It seems like one of the big mechanics is all about grabbing and destroying the literal world around you. Like you're pulling up these pieces of the environment and chucking them across and just breaking more of the environment. And after doing some research on the website, this is all apparently in some sort of underground world. As for the story, from what we can tell, there's a shady company called Voidco that's been out here stealing silly golden bananas. And it's up to Donkey Kong to go and get him back. And he's not alone. You'll be teaming up with these little rock fellas. I don't really understand why he's using these rocks, but I love to see it. Honestly, if you make a friend with a rock, then that rocks. Am I right? There's a lot going on here. Multiple currencies, deep mining mechanics, and even some sort of lore. So that's good. This game is just looking really cool. And I'm so happy we're finally getting something fresh. I can't wait to play as Donkey Kong again. The movement looks so fluid and the animations are crisp. And it just feels like there's so much personality in this. However, there are still some major problems here that I feel like people are just kind of glossing over. Not necessarily about the game, the whole franchise. There are definitely some decisions that Nintendo made that are just weird. Let's just start with this new era and how it completely shifts what we know about Donkey Kong. Yes, I love that we're actually getting DK content again. That's not a $60 remake on the Nintendo Switch. And I now love that his design's being updated and that he's finally stepping out of Mario's shadow a bit. That's great. But what does that mean for the previous Donkey Kong design? You know, the one that's been used since the Rare days. I think it's safe to assume that we're not going back to that look anymore. And that whole era is probably retired. And you know what? That's fine. I get it. Nintendo probably wants to move on from those designs because, well, they weren't originally made by Nintendo. They came from Rare, the same fellas who created the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, Donkey Kong 64, and helped solidify that iconic design. It kind of feels like Nintendo wants to distance themselves from that. That's at least one theory. But then it kind of makes me wonder, why now? Especially after they just spent $500 million building an entire theme park based on those exact old designs. games. The Donkey Kong area at Universal literally takes inspiration straight from Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze. This is a brand new park expansion, and you're telling me Universal didn't ask about the long-term plans for Donkey Kong as a character? This whole thing just feels kind of forced. First of all, why Donkey Kong in the first place and not like The Legend of Zelda or something? Or, you know, Pokemon. And now that the park's opening this May in Orlando, it's already instantly dated by Nintendo themselves. They've introduced a new Donkey Kong look and tone right as the park opened. Shouldn't the games and the parks be marketing for each other? I mean, obviously they're both still Donkey Kong, but there's this weird disconnect now. Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong, but what Donkey Kong are we talking about? Another thing that's kind of a red flag is the lack of other Donkey Kong family members. Now sure, the game literally just got announced, so if they're in it, maybe Nintendo's just holding back for a future reveal. That's entirely possible. But the more I watch this trailer, the more nervous I get, because as of now, there's not a single notable Kong in sight. No Dixie, no Cranky, no Funky, and no Chunky. And let's just address the obvious, Diddy Kong is nowhere to be seen. So the treehouse just happened, and actually, there was gameplay of Cranky Kong. We do see the Kong family. I've lied to you. Cranky Kong's looking actually pretty similar to how he looks in the normal games. What's up with that? But hey, we still don't have Diddy Kong. So is Diddy Kong still gone? I don't know. Time will tell. I guess just ignore what I said. Okay, back to the video. And what really makes all this weirder is that even in the new Mario Kart, which has basically every Mario character imaginable crammed into it, including characters I forgot existed, Diddy Kong is still missing. That's the game where you expect to see everyone. So it makes me wonder, are they slowly phasing out these characters entirely? And the reason I think this is because a lot of these characters were originally created by Rare, not Nintendo themselves. That might be the real reason we're seeing them quietly get erased. Nintendo could be trying to fully reestablish Donkey Kong as their own thing, with new characters and a new direction, one they fully control. And I didn't really want to bring this up, but Diddy Kong's name is kind of being dragged through the mud. I'm just genuinely shocked that it's not in Mario Kart World, that we know of. But hey, if he does end up in a new game, we can probably assume that his design will be like his Mario movie design, which, by the way, he's in Mario movie, so maybe he is a thing. I don't know. Could this video get dated really fast? Who even knows? Talking about a game that's not out yet. But then again, at the same time, if they were going to redesign Diddy Kong as well, why would they cram that Universal Park full of these old designs? Why go all in on the Rare-inspired Donkey Kong world at the park if you're about to abandon it in the games? It just feels like Nintendo's marketing departments and game dev teams are just completely ignoring each other. Now, the other concern fans have been tossing around is what this means for 3D Mario games. Since this Donkey Kong game is being made by the same team behind Super Mario Odyssey, does that mean that we're not getting another 3D Mario game anytime soon? I mean, that's kind of a big deal. I have no clue what the plan is, but I seriously can't imagine Nintendo skipping out on a 3D Mario. Those games are system sellers, and there's a new system. If anything, a new 3D Mario would probably outsell Donkey Kong Bonanza like 5 times over. So while this probably isn't a major problem yet, it's still something we have to keep in mind. Like, are we really gonna have to wait for another entire new console generation just to see 3D Mario again? I doubt it, but hey, with Nintendo, you never know. So yes, Donkey Kong Bonanza is shaping up to be one of the most exciting and confusing Nintendo projects in a long time. On one hand, I'm so glad Donkey Kong is finally getting a brand new 3D game, made by an incredibly talented team and with some of the best visuals we've seen on the Switch 2 so far. The gameplay looks fun, the world looks exciting, and the fact that Donkey Kong can now rip up chunks of terrain makes me want to do it myself. I want to break stuff! Future Russ here again, and also there was one other thing that was brought to my attention about this whole new redesign. I don't know how I forgot to put this in the script, but something I've seen a ton in my comment section and just on the game trailer is that people don't like how Donkey Kong looks much more childish. He's not the same hardcore Kong we used to see. He has a much more approachable design. He's a little more cute. He now sings. And this just isn't the Donkey Kong people know. So I wanted to add that in. People don't really like how childish they've seemed to have made Donkey Kong. I don't think he's like that childish, but I do get what people are saying here. There's just a lot of strange decisions here. The character redesigns, the possibility of phasing out the old Rare created Kong family, the complete disconnect from the Universal Park. It all makes me wonder what the long-term plan even is. It's like Nintendo's rebooting Donkey Kong without telling anyone that they're even rebooting Donkey Kong. Listen, I'm excited, and you better believe I'm gonna cop this game on day one. But I've also got questions, and I really hope that as we get closer to launch, Nintendo clears some of this up. But yeah, I'm also just really excited for the Switch 2. I have so many more Switch 2 video ideas. Let me know if you're excited for them. And hey, consider becoming a channel member so that I can actually buy it when it comes out. And hey, get your name at the end of the video. And so many exclusive videos. Also, exclusive Discord chat that I'm active in. Let's go! I'll see you in the next one. See you later. A little birdie told me that you like Donkey Kong. Hey, why don't you click this video where I talk about the rise and fall of Mario versus Donkey Kong? It's a good one. Have a good day. I love you.